Hi everybody! In today's writing lesson we are going to be having a look at the learning challenge I Can Write a Sentence. So we are going to be writing some sentences. We are writing some sentences about the animals that we looked at last week. But last week we did an adjective lesson where we wrote descriptive sentences about what the animals look like. Today we are going to have a go at writing some factual sentences, so sentences about the animals and about how they live and about their lives. I'm going to give you some facts about some animals. I don't expect you to know the facts I'm going to give you them, but I'm not going to give you them in sentence form. I'm going to give you them as sort of little notes on a mind map, and your job is going to be putting your favourite facts into a sentence. So the first animal we looked at was this little frog, and he is called a red-eyed tree frog. And these are some facts about him. They leap and climb in the trees in the rainforest. So they are from the rainforest and they leap and climb in the trees. Their feet, which you can see here, are webbed. That means they have little bits of skin between the toes. And the toes and the feet have got little sticky pads on, which provide grip on the tree bark or on any leaves that they jump onto, and because it's quite wet in the rainforest, they need to have those sticky pads to provide grip, and because it's quite damp, so they can hold on to any plants that they want to hold on to. The reason why they are so brightly coloured is to confuse predators. So predators are the things that might want to eat this little tree frog. So if something comes along that would like to eat the frog, because he's so brightly coloured, he will flash his colours at them and they will think, oh, is that a tree frog? Is that a frog? Is that something I could eat, or is it not? And while they're stood there being confused, the frog can hop away. So he is so brightly coloured so that he can confuse predators, the things that are trying to eat him. And he also has a really impressive jumping ability. He can do really big jumps even though he is a really tiny frog. Next, we are going to move on to the alligator. So this is an American alligator, and here are some facts about this animal. Its tail, it's got a really thick, strong tail, and the tail helps to propel them while swimming. So when the alligator is swimming, its tail is swishing back and forwards to push it along in the water. So its tail is there to swish back and forwards while it's swimming to help it swim, to push it along. It is also camouflaged. Now, as you can see from this picture, it looks quite camouflaged, doesn't it? It's a similar colour to the wood that it's sat on here, and its skin has a similar texture to the wood as well. It's quite bumpy, like this piece of bark down here would be. It is also camouflaged against the reeds and the grasses in the wetland, which is where it lives. So it blends in with the reeds and the grass, because the reeds and the grass are sort of brown and green, and the alligator is a similar sort of dark brown, black and green. It has a powerful jaw to bite and grip prey. So its jaws slam down really, really hard and crush anything that it might want to try and eat. So its jaw is really, really powerful, and it crushes down, and not only does it bite things really, really hard, but it grips on as well. So if anything that it wanted to eat was trying to run away, it would just keep hold of them in its jaw. Its nose is wide and round, and the reason why its nose is wide and round might be to try and help crack really hard shells on animals like turtles, which it might like to eat. So it holds onto the turtle, which has a big, really hard shell, and because its nose is so wide, it can really put lots of pressure on with that powerful jaw to try and crush that turtle shell and eat the turtle that's inside. And they can live to be over 80 years old. I was reading about this, and especially in captivity, if they're in a zoo, alligators can live to be really old, almost 90, over 80 years old. Okay, next we looked at the parrot. This parrot is a blue and yellow macaw. Here are some facts about it. It is from the woodland of South America. It actually has white skin, and the reason why its face looks white is because it doesn't really have any feathers on its face. Its skin is white, which is why there is a bit of white on its face there. It has a really powerful curved beak. That curved beak is really strong, and it can crack really hard nutshells that the parrot would want to eat. And he can also use his beak to climb trees. So he's using his claws to grab onto the tree if he wanted to walk up it, and he would use his beak to peck as he walked up it as well, sort of like an extra claw, which is really cool. These blue and yellow macaws can mimic human speech. That means they can, if they hear a person talking, they can make that same sound with their voice. Obviously, they don't understand what they're saying, but they can copy you, which is very cool. And they help the forest to grow, because when they eat, they're quite messy eaters, so they'll be eating their seeds, and they might be flying around with bits of seeds stuck to them, or they might be eating their seeds and they might get bits of seeds everywhere. So they help the forest to grow because they spread plant seeds all over the forest floor, and because they're such messy eaters. And finally, we looked at an African elephant. Here are some facts about it. They are classed as vulnerable. That means there aren't that many left of them in the wild, and some of the reasons why there are not many left is because the habitat, the place where they live, is being destroyed by humans, so the elephants don't really have anywhere to live anymore, so they're finding it more hard to survive. And in some countries the humans do kill the elephants as well. So humans are quite bad for these African elephants. They make it quite hard for them to stay alive. It has a long trunk. We talked about that long wavy trunk last week, and it has lots and lots of uses. It might use the trunk for feeding, for drinking, for smelling things, and for protecting itself, so defending against anything that might try to attack it. It is a herbivore. That means it only eats plants. It doesn't eat other animals. And it eats leaves, grasses, herbs and bark, so anything that comes from a plant is what the African elephant would eat. And finally, its ears are really big, and it can flap those ears and use them like a fan in the hot African weather. So it fans itself with its ears in the hot African weather. Okay, so what I would like you to do is choose a couple of those animals, and I would like you to have a go at writing some fact sentences about the animal that you choose today. So let's go on to this next slide. Here are some examples of some sentences that you could write. We will have a look at, let's go back to the elephant. Are you going to let me do that? I'm not sure it is. Okay, so the elephant has really big ears, and it flaps them to keep itself cool. It's a herbivore, which means it feeds on leaves, grasses, herbs and bark. There are lots of really good sentences we could write there. So first I'm going to write about the elephant's ears. And I'm going to write the African elephant has large grey ears and, oh, haven't spelled elephants right. Elephants. The African elephant's large grey elephant. I'm not sure what I meant to write there. The African. This is why we should read through our sentences while we're writing them. I definitely didn't do that, and I definitely should have. The African elephant has, is my missing word, has large grey ears, and the African elephant has large grey ears and it flaps them to keep itself cool. Full stop. Let me read through that to check if that makes sense. The African elephant has large grey ears and it flaps them to keep itself cool. That's a really good sentence. Super. Now, my next sentence is going to be about what it eats. I know that the African elephant is a herbivore, which means it only eats plants, and it might eat bark from trees, leaves, or herbs. So let's see, I had a lot of ands when I said that, and I can't use them all in a sentence, but I could write The African elephant is a herbivore. Full stop. That's a fact sentence. And then next time I'm going to start my sentence with the word it, because I've already written the African elephant twice now, so I don't need to say that again. It eats bark from trees, leaves and herbs. Full stop. Great. I could also have written there, the African elephant is a herbivore because it eats leaves, herbs and bark from trees. I could have used the word because in there, so next time I might change that. So this is what we're doing today. Choose your favourite animal from that list of animals, and have a go at writing me some fact sentences about what you've learned about it from watching this video. Remember, your sentences need capital letters and full stops. If there are some really tricky words in this, in some of the mind maps that I've given you, things like predators, impressive, camouflaged, there are lots of big words in, so don't feel pressured to use all the really big words in the new vocabulary if you're not quite sure what it means. Just anything that you have learned about any of these animals, and the way that you understand it. So for example, instead of tail propels them while swimming, if your sentence was the alligator has a strong tail which pushes it along in the water, full stop. That would be a brilliant sentence. So don't feel the need to use really tricky words if you are finding it a little bit difficult. Anything that you've learned about any of these animals, because next week we are going to be writing our riddle, and in our riddle we are going to be describing what the animal that we're thinking of looks like, but then we're also going to need some facts about it as well. So this is basically preparing our clues that we are going to use when we write our riddle, when we're getting people to guess which animal we're talking about. So I hope you have enjoyed learning a few new facts about the animals, and give them a go popping them into some sentences. And we would love it if you would send us our work. We'd love it if you could send us your work.